What's going on with wrestler CM Punk? I understand he got in an argument with someone backstage and got fired, but it sounds like there's more to it since I'm seeing a lot of drama in rising posts on Reddit. Answer. It's a long story, so I will steal a friend's explanation. First, background. CM Punk is employed by AEW, wrestling's second biggest company and an up-and-coming one, since it started during the pandemic while WWE is 70 years old and from when wrestling was literally just starting to form and everyone knew each other. Almost a year ago, during the Hangman/Punk feud which led to Punk winning the title, for AEW, they cut promos on each other, and Punk apparently thought something Hangman said crossed a line. Hangman being another AEW wrestler, who was quite unknown before going to AEW, unlike Punk, who for years was the biggest star in the business. Anyways, months after that, when Punk came back from injury, the first thing he did was call out Hangman on a live mic. This was not planned, not scripted, and made Hangman's character look like shit because he didn't answer the challenge. This led to some people being very pissed at Punk, which led to Punk getting more pissed at everyone else. Apparently the whole root of the problem is that when Punk got signed, his former best friend turned guy he apparently hates, Colt Cabana, got bounced off screen and was going to be cut, until eventually people campaigned for him to stick around. Cabana is not only very popular backstage, but seen as a trailblazer to a lot of the guys. Since he's the guy who showed people they could make a living doing indie wrestling and non-traditional revenue streams. He's the first guy who did a big wrestling podcast, which has now been duplicated by everyone. There are so many wrestling podcasts now, so anyway, apparently Punk got really pissed. And at a specific show's night press conference after the show, just went off. Like, the reporter introduced himself and said where he was from and Punk's response was, "Hey, sure, question for you, are you friends with Scott Colton, Colt's real name? Because neither am I," and then went on from there. He ranted about Colt, about how he kept having to wrestle assholes, mean the Elite, a wrestler groups and founders of AEW, aka kinda Punk's employers, but not totally since most of the company is owned by billionaire Tony Khan, who also owns English Premier League club Fulham and the NFL team Jacksonville Jaguars, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Then he went backstage, and got into a fight with the Young Bucks aka two of the Elite, two AEW's vice presidents. Quoting a reporter description of the fight. A lot of rumors and details about the AEW post-scrum skirmish have emerged. Punk's trainer Ace Steel was said to have been involved from most everyone we spoke with. Others noted that Nick Jackson ended up getting rocked or knocked out, and leaving him marked up after the fight. That ended up happening as a result of Ace Steel throwing a chair, according to numerous sources. Kenny Omega and Ace Steel were also have said to have tussled, with Steel allegedly biting Omega and grabbing him by the hair. A lot of cursing, a lot of mayhem, and a lot of people not being willing to hash it out, said one person who was familiar with the situation. We're told at least one of the coaches was very torn up about what happened. Right after Punk's scrum ended, a security guard ended up darting backstage. There are several that we've spoken to that think there could be legal ramifications to the situation. There have been reports that Christopher Daniels and Pat Buck were involved in the situation, which seem to vary based on who you talk to, but we've not confirmed as much. There were several people trying to de-escalate the situation. That was months ago. After that, Khan moved heaven and hell to keep CM Punk in the company, and make him happy, including, booking a show in Chicago, Punk's home turf and where he's worshipped by local fans, 2, creating a B show so that Punk could wrestle without meeting with Elite members and other people in the locker room he beefed with, 3, hiring back Punk's bitey friend just so he wouldn't keep throwing tantrums. Anyways, cue present time. AEW scheduled a run of events, a tour, that would take them to the next level, including a wrestling event in Wembley, which it turns out became wrestling's biggest event ever, not counting the crazy North Korean WCW X and JPW show, but that's another story. Comments pointed out I got it wrong, it was WCW not WWE who did it, and it was in the 90s. They had 81,000 people watching. The last match of the pre-show was Jack Perry, formerly Jungle Boy, versus Hook. Hardcore match. The match started with them fighting on top of a car, and wound up with Jack suplexing Hook into the windshield. Before he got suplexed, he knocked on the windshield and looked right into the camera, and made a comment about it being real glass. As corrected by a comment below, which was a reference to a backstage thing that had happened a few weeks ago, where Jack was going to do a spot with glass as an injury angle and Punk shut it down, with him basically accusing Jack of trying to get hurt for time off. Now, key fact, the first match of the main show, meaning the next match on the card, was Samoa Joe vs 1C, Montgomery Punk. So they ran into each other when Jack went backstage. Apparently the exchange was something to the effect of, "Punk, do we have a problem?" "Jack, dude. I'm a heel. I'm trying to get heat." Punk, straight up just starts trying to choke the man. Again, this happened backstage, at Wembley Stadium. Right as their biggest show of all time was starting. Directly in front of the boss, Tony Khan. Punk then apparently started screaming about how he hated it here and that he quit. Samoa Joe was able to wrangle him for the match, which was pretty solid, and then both Punk and Jack were sent home as another investigation kicked off. The results of which happened today. Punk's fired. They have 2 shows in Chicago in the next 30 hours. A live Collision tonight. Which was, again, the show literally built for CM Punk to keep him happy and away from the Elite. And then a PPV tomorrow, starring, yeah,